Most people believe they've reached their limit when they start to feel pain fatigue or mental resistance. They think, I can't go any further. And that belief becomes their reality. But here's the truth. They're nowhere near their limit. In fact, they're usually only at about 40% of what they're actually capable of. That's what David Goggins calls the 40% rule. It's the idea that when your mind is screaming for you to quit, you've only tapped into a fraction of your true potential. Your body has much more to give. Your mind, however, is what holds you back. This principle separates the average from the elite. The average person hears that inner voice telling them to stop and they obey it. They slow down, they give in. But those who understand the 40% rule, the warriors, the savages, the relentless, they don't stop when it hurts. They keep going. They push beyond that voice. They understand that the feeling of pain is not a signal to quit. It's a signal that they're entering the next level of growth. They don't run from it. They lean into it. This is the point where the real work begins. The point when your legs feel like concrete, your lungs are burning, your mind is begging you to stop. That's the barrier. That's the wall. Most people hit that wall and turn around. But the few who break through it, they change forever. Once you push past that first barrier, you begin to realize just how much more you have in you. You realize that pain is just weakness leaving the body. That fatigue is just your mind trying to protect you. And once you override that mental limitation, you tap into a reserve that most people never access in their lifetime. In the military, in SEAL training and ultramarathons, this rule is tested constantly. Goggins talks about times when his body was broken, literally stress fractures, torn muscles, kidneys failing, and yet he still kept going. Not because he was superhuman, but because he had trained his mind to ignore the false stop signs. The brain is wired for survival. It wants comfort, safety, and predictability. But growth lives in the opposite direction. Growth lives in chaos, in struggle, in pain. And unless you've trained your mind to interpret pain as progress, you will always stop short of your potential. Every time you stop at 40%, you reinforce a pattern of weakness. Your brain learns that the moment things get uncomfortable, you quit. And that becomes your identity. But when you keep pushing, when you override that voice and keep moving forward, even one more step, one more rep, one more mile, you begin to rewire your brain. You teach it that discomfort is not the enemy. You teach it that you're capable of more than it thinks. You build mental calluses. You build a new identity, one that doesn't break when life gets hard. This isn't just about workouts or physical feats. This rule applies to every area of life: business, relationships, personal development. That moment when you don't feel like working, when you're tired, burned out, or discouraged. That's your 40%. That's the moment you have to choose whether to be average or extraordinary. Do you sit back and say, I've done enough? Or do you say, let's see what I'm really made of? The answer to that question will define your future. The 40% rule demands self-awareness. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. You have to recognize when your mind is lying to you, because it will lie. It will tell you you're finished. It will tell you you've done all you can. But if you stop, you'll never know what was on the other side. You'll never know what you're truly capable of. That's the real tragedy, not the pain, not the struggle, but the wasted potential that comes from believing in the lie of limitation. David Goggins lives by this principle every single day. It's why he runs ultramarathons on broken feet. It's why he trains like a savage even after retirement. It's why he says things like, be uncommon amongst the uncommon. Because he knows that greatness isn't given, it's earned. And it's earned in those moments when you want to quit but don't. When everything in your body is telling you to stop and you say, no, not yet. This rule is not easy to apply. It goes against everything you've been conditioned to believe. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. But that's the point. The 40% rule is a test. It's a daily challenge. Every time you feel like quitting, ask yourself, is this my limit? Or is this just my mind trying to protect me? If you can answer that honestly, and if you have the courage to keep going, you'll start to unlock levels of strength, focus, and endurance you never thought possible. And once you access that other 60%, everything changes. Your goals change. Your confidence explodes. You stop being a victim and start becoming something more. Someone dangerous, focused, unstoppable. Most people wait for motivation to strike before they act. They sit around scrolling, watching videos, listening to podcasts, hoping for that perfect moment where inspiration lights a fire under them. But that fire rarely comes when you need it. The truth is, motivation is fleeting. It's emotional. It's unreliable. It feels good, sure. It gives you that temporary rush, that I'm going to change my life today feeling. But what happens the next day when you wake up tired, it's raining outside, your muscles ache, and nothing feels exciting anymore. That's when most people fall off, because they were relying on a feeling, not a system. They were relying on motivation, and motivation always fades. Discipline is what separates the people who say they want it from the people who go get it. Discipline is doing the work whether you feel like it or not. It's waking up when the alarm goes off, not when your body wants to. It's showing up at the gym when your mind is making excuses. It's studying when your friends are partying. It's making the hard choices that your future self will thank you for, not the easy ones your present self craves. Discipline is cold. It's quiet. It doesn't scream or shout, but it delivers results. David Goggins built his entire life around this truth. He didn't transform from a 300-pound exterminator into a Navy SEAL, ultramarathon runner, and world record holder because he was motivated every day. He did it because he built discipline. He created structure. He created rituals and systems that didn't rely on how he felt. He ran in the freezing cold and the heat with broken feet when nobody was watching because he had conditioned his mind to treat work like breathing, necessary and non-negotiable. There was no room for negotiation, no internal debate. The decision had already been made long before the day began. That's the difference most people don't understand. They think high performers wake up inspired every morning. They think there's some secret formula to always being on. But there isn't. The people who rise to the top are the ones who train their minds to show up regardless of emotion. They build habits that operate independently from motivation. They remove choice. They automate the hard stuff. They don't wait to feel ready. They act, and the feeling catches up later. Motivation can be a spark, but it can't be the engine. If you're serious about achieving anything difficult, you need to kill the idea that you'll always feel like doing the work. You won't. There will be days when everything in you wants to quit, when your body aches, your mind is foggy, and life throws distractions at you from every direction. That's when discipline takes over. Discipline is what gets you up at 4:30 a.m. to train while the rest of the world sleeps. Discipline is what drives you to keep pushing when nobody claps, nobody sees you, and nobody cares. It's not sexy, but it's real. It's what builds confidence because every day you honor the commitment you made to yourself, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. In America, where comfort is everywhere, fast food, endless entertainment, instant gratification, discipline is rare. We're trained from a young age to avoid discomfort, to look for shortcuts, to take the easy path. But that path doesn't lead anywhere worth going. That path leads to regret. It leads to mediocrity. The people who rise above that noise are the ones who embrace the grind. They understand that greatness is forged in boredom and repetition, doing the same hard things over and over again until it becomes part of who you are. That's how mental toughness is built. You won't always have the luxury of a perfect schedule. Life is messy. Life is chaotic. If you only show up on the days when it's easy, you'll never be consistent enough to create real momentum. Discipline is what gets you through the chaos. It creates structure where there is none. It grounds you when everything else is shaking. It's your anchor. The people who master discipline don't rely on external conditions. They bring their own internal power to every situation. That's why they're dangerous. That's why they win. Building discipline isn't glamorous. It's slow. It's frustrating. You'll fail. You'll miss workouts. You'll procrastinate. You'll fall short. But you keep coming back, not because it feels good, but because it's what you do. You don't identify with the outcome. You identify with the process. You trust the work, even when the results aren't visible yet. That's the mindset of a savage. That's the mindset of someone who refuses to be average. When you operate with discipline, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop entertaining weakness. You start treating your commitments like contracts, not suggestions, not intentions, contracts signed with your effort, paid for in consistency. And if you break that contract, you feel it, not in guilt, but in ownership, because discipline isn't about punishment. It's about power. It's the power to choose growth over comfort, strength over softness, vision over distraction. The mind is the real battleground where every victory or defeat begins. People like to think that success is about physical strength, talent, or even intelligence. But the truth is, none of that matters if your mind isn't right. Your mind controls everything. Your effort, your resilience, your decisions, your habits. Before you quit a workout, your mind quits first. Before you fail a challenge, your mind lets fear in. Before you even start something hard, your mind begins to talk you out of it. That's why David Goggins says the real war is fought inside the mind, not in the gym, not in the battlefield, not in the office, but in your head. Most people don't understand how weak their minds are because they've never tested them. They live comfortably. They stay away from things that hurt. They avoid suffering. So their mind stays soft. And when life throws something at them, a hard day, a financial crisis, a heartbreak, a loss, they break, they crumble. Not because they're weak people, but because they never trained themselves to be mentally hard. They never built that inner armor. But the few who deliberately expose themselves to pain, to resistance, to hardship, they start to build a different relationship with their mind. They start to see it for what it really is, a liar, a manipulator, a survival tool that doesn't care about growth. The mind will always choose safety. It will always choose what's familiar and easy. But greatness doesn't live there. You have to take control of the narrative inside your head. If you don't, the voice that tells you you're tired, you can't do this, you're not good enough, that voice will win. It will steal your potential. It will keep you in the same place for years. That voice is the enemy, and it speaks loudest when you're about to do something that matters. When you're on the edge of breakthrough, that's when it gets vicious. That's when it floods you with doubt, fear, excuses. And most people believe it. But if you can train yourself to recognize that voice, if you can learn to talk back to it with truth, with action, with grit, you take back control. David Goggins is known for talking to himself during long runs, during workouts, during brutal moments of suffering. Why? Because he knows that the mind will try to convince you to quit. It will whisper all the reasons why it's okay to stop. And if you just listen without pushing back, you will stop. But if you counter that voice, if you say, no, we're not done. We've got more. This is where we grow. Then something changes. You start building mental dominance. You stop reacting to emotions and start commanding your focus. Mental toughness is not some magical trait you're born with. It's a skill, a discipline, and it's built through repetition. Every time you override your mind's impulse to quit, you build strength. Every time you push through the pain instead of running from it, you lay another brick in the foundation of an unbreakable mindset. But it only happens through exposure. You have to deliberately put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable, painful, difficult, because those are the only situations that challenge your mental limits. That's why Goggins runs in the rain, in the cold, in the middle of the night. Not because he enjoys suffering, but because he understands that every mile he runs past the point of comfort is a win in the war against the mind. The average person doesn't know what they're capable of because their mind quits long before their body does. You've got to learn to separate feelings from facts. Just because something feels hard doesn't mean you're done. Just because your mind is screaming doesn't mean you should listen. That voice of resistance never goes away. You just learn to stop obeying it. You build a new voice, one that comes from discipline, truth, and power. One that says, I do hard things. I don't back down. I'm not here to be comfortable. I'm here to be great. Training your mind starts with awareness. You've got to catch the lies. The moments where you say, I'm too tired. It's not worth it. I'll do it later. You've got to call yourself out. You've got to replace those thoughts with action. Movement kills doubt. Effort kills fear. The more you act in defiance of that weak voice, the quieter it gets. And soon, you don't need to feel ready. You just go. You move forward no matter what. Because you're not driven by feelings. You're driven by mission. In America, where we're constantly bombarded by comfort, by convenience, by noise, mastering your mind is the greatest advantage you can have. It's what allows you to stay locked in while everyone else is distracted. It's what lets you do one more rep, one more hour, one more sacrifice while others coast. The world doesn't need more comfort seekers. It needs warriors. And warriors aren't built in comfort. They're built through the fire of mental discipline, through the daily decision to fight against that part of your brain that wants you to settle. There's a harsh truth that most people don't want to accept. There is no shortcut to greatness. There's no fast lane, no hack, no secret formula that will get you to where you want to be without doing the work. In a culture like America's, where everything is built for speed, convenience, and instant gratification, people have been trained to believe that if something takes too long or feels too hard, then it's not worth it. But the reality is, the only way to truly transform physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually is through relentless, disciplined, often painful hard work. That's it. No cheat code, no special circumstances, no handouts, just grind. Everyone wants success until they realize what it actually demands. They want the dream body, the thriving business, the elite mindset, the respect. But they don't want the lonely nights, the early mornings, the sore muscles, the rejection, the sacrifice. That's because people romanticize success. They look at the finished product, the athlete standing on the podium, the entrepreneur cashing $1 million checks, the Navy SEAL operating at an elite level, and they think Man, I wish I had that. But they don't see the years of pain, the endless reps, the mental breakdowns, the hours in the dark doing work when no one was watching. They want the outcome without the process. But the process is where greatness is forged. David Goggins lives this message every single day. He didn't just stumble into greatness. He bled for it. He earned every bit of it through ruthless hard work. No one handed him anything. He was overweight, insecure, and full of trauma, and he could have stayed that way. But instead, he chose the hard road. He chose to outwork everyone. He didn't wait for opportunity. He created it with effort. Every run, every workout, every book, every speech, it's all built on the foundation of extreme discipline and an unshakable work ethic. That's the difference between people who want it and people who get it. The people who get it aren't waiting to be rescued. They put their heads down and get after it every single day. In this society, people are sold lies. They're told to follow their passion, to find balance, to take it easy and practice self-care as a way to avoid effort. And while rest is necessary, what's often missed is that the real self-respect comes from doing the work you said you would do. The real self-worth comes from knowing you earned it. There is no feeling in the world like looking in the mirror and knowing you didn't cut corners, that you didn't cheat the grind, that every result, every win, every inch of progress was paid for in full with time, effort, and sacrifice. That's the stuff that builds unshakable confidence. That's what creates real, lasting success. People complain that life is hard, and yes, it is. But that's not a reason to slow down. That's the reason to speed up. When things get hard, most people pull back. But the few who double down in those moments, they're the ones who separate themselves. Hard work isn't just something you do when life is good. It's something you do no matter what. Whether you're tired, broke, stressed, hurt, and you show up, you grind. Because that's who you are. That's the standard you've set. And once you lock into that identity, nothing can stop you. The truth is, hard work reveals who you really are. When everything is stripped away, your job title, your money, your followers, your excuses, the only thing that remains is whether you did the work or not. Did you suffer when no one else was watching? Did you wake up early? Did you push through that workout? Did you read when you wanted to scroll? Did you take action when others were waiting? Or did you fold? Did you give up at the first sign of discomfort? Those are the questions that matter. Not how talented you are, not how many likes you got, but whether you earned it. Every shortcut you take robs you of a lesson. Every time you choose the easy way out, you delay your own growth. You may not see the effects immediately, but it's building silently into a life of mediocrity. On the flip side, every rep, every grind, every drop of sweat compounds. You're building something that can't be taken from you. Not by a boss, not by the economy, not by critics. Because it's internal. It's who you've become. America was built on grit. The people who built this country weren't asking for things to be easier. They worked, they endured, they sacrificed. That's the spirit we've lost in this age of convenience. We've forgotten what it means to struggle for something that matters. But if you want to stand out, if you want to be uncommon, if you want to return to the legacies, show up early. Stay late. Do the hard things. Refuse to quit. That's the code. That's the path. It's not glamorous. It's not popular, but it works. Because while everyone else is looking for a shortcut, you're out there earning it inch by inch, rep by rep, day by day. So when it comes down to it, there's no escaping the truth. You either put in the work or you don't. You either face the pain and rise through it, or you stay stuck where it's safe and never know what you're truly made of. The grind doesn't lie, it reveals. And when you choose to embrace the hard path, when you outwork every excuse, every distraction, and every ounce of weakness, you begin to earn something no one can ever give you: respect for yourself. That's the ultimate reward. That's what lasts. Not the applause, not the recognition, but the inner strength built by doing what most people won't. No shortcuts, no handouts, just hard work. Always.